This conference will now be recorded.
Yeah. So what is pathology? So in simple terms, any alteration in physiological and biochemical pathways in the body due to any causative factor or an etiological agent. So that leads to any morphological changes in the organ or a part of the body. So morphological changes means both in terms of grossly as well as microscopically. Grossly means the whole organ architecture, whether there are any changes in the organ architecture as a whole, and as well as at the microscopically. That means at the cellular level and at the molecular level. So that means the morphological changes. So these abnormal changes, they lead to a set of signs and symptoms. So for a particular set of signs and symptoms occurring due to a causative agent, we gave a term as disease. So pathology means study of diseases. So this is a broad classification of the diseases. So it is classified as neoplastic and non-neoplastic. Okay. So neoplastic is the topic which I'll be dealing in the next 7 sessions of our class. Okay, right from today. So see that you attend all the classes because it's a very important topic and it will be very difficult for you if you want to learn on your own. So the non-neoplastic, can you name some inflammatory disease? I think you have already finished in your previous class tuberculosis, syphilis and leprosy. Inflammatory, again you can classify into acute and chronic. So whatever I mentioned now, they are all come under chronic inflammatory disease. Acute is any acute bacterial infection will come under that category. Next, infectious agent. Like you can take tuberculosis only, all communicable diseases like HIV, hepatitis B and C, even the COVID-19 virus. So all these are the infectious disease. Next, congenital disease. So congenital disease like cleft lip, cleft palate, tetralogy of palate. Hereditary means which can be transmitted from one generation to other generation, like sickle cell anemia, I think, which you have done in your phase 1 in biochemistry. And any metabolic disorders like familial hypercholesteremia, any degenerative disorders, that is age related change. Can you just mention any age related change? Disease, age related disease.
Alzheimer's disease, ma'am.
Yes, Alzheimer's disease. Yes, because many films have been made based on that Alzheimer's disease. And nutritional disease. So you already know iron deficiency, vitamin B12, and protein energy malnutrition. So they're all a nutritional disease. And any organ specific like cirrhosis of liver. So it's an end stage liver disease. And any acute renal failure, myocardial infarction, like it's a disease of the heart. So that's a organ specific. Again, neoplastic, it is classified into benign, pre-malignant and malignant. So this neoplastic chapter is the one which I'll be taking in today's session. So another small introduction I want to give is that, see, whenever you approach, whenever you start learning your systemic chapters or even microbiology or even your clinical subjects, so you should know how you have to approach a disease. So first, always start with a definition. That means to say what I've just mentioned before, whether it is neoplastic, whether it is inflammatory, what it is, it's a metabolic disease of this specific organ. So always you keep a broad what it is. So that you have to mention in your first sentence, and any types, any subtypes of the disease, what are the common sites it affects, and in which age group it is common. So now this age group also, and it will be difficult for you now to remember because they usually mention 10 to 15 years or 10 to 20 years, 20 to 30 years. So instead of remembering like that, you can remember whether it's common in children, whether it is common in adolescents, young adults from 18 to 30 years, young adults, okay, in middle age group 30 to 50 years, older age group. So you can remember like that, okay. And it's common at birth or females or in males, gender wise. And how common is that disease? So if the incidence is not given, you just mention whether it is common or whether it is less common or whether it is rare. So you can mention it like that at your stage, at MBBS level. So when you go to PG level, you have to correctly know the incidence and prevalence. Okay. Now, clinical presentation, there'll be certain specific signs and symptoms relating to that organ. So those we have to mention. And etiology and pathogenesis. So that is our subject, the causative factor and the morphological abnormal changes which are occurring in the body. So that is pathogenesis. And morphology is how the organ is looking grossly, as well as when we see under the slide how the tissue is looking. And complications relating to the condition and the treatment. A short note on the treatment. For example, it is acute appendicitis. So what treatment will give? Appendicectomy. So that is enough at this stage. So as you progress, you have to start collecting information based on that disease. Okay, so your textbook is like a comprehension passage. It's a comprehension book. So you have to pick out suitable sentences from those passages and you have to keep it under these subheadings. So that's how you have to learn. Okay, so otherwise it's a big Mahabharata. It's a big Veda. So it will be quite difficult for you to learn. Okay, so always I suggest you put in points, okay, flow charts, tables, diagrams. Okay, so that is it looks very impressive because we'll be correcting so many papers. So if you see passages, continuous passages without any punctuation, without any demarcation, right from A to Z, from first line you'll go to the last line and you will write 3-4 pages. So no one is going to read those 3-4 pages. Okay, what we read is points, beautiful points, where if you underline all your subheadings, okay, flow charts, tables, diagrams, so that you will score a lot of marks, and not only marks, you will remember also like that. Okay, so please start practicing in that way, not only for pathology, even for other subjects also. Okay, so that's why I told you to join 10 minutes earlier. Already 10 minutes class got over. Okay, so today I'll be dealing with neoplasia, and for next 7 classes, so it is your 7th competency. So I think you must having that curriculum PDF format, what all competencies we have for different subjects. Okay, so these are your competencies. I think how many colors you're seeing here? Apart from the last one, you're seeing 5 different colors. So that means to say you have 5 different competencies under this topic. So this is your lesson plan. So all which are coming in the green color, green font, so that is your first competency, so which I'll be taking in 2 classes, today and tomorrow. So next you have the rest of 4 competencies which I'll be dealing in the next classes. So today we'll start, I'll be telling about definition, nomenclature and classification of neoplasia. So before jumping into the topic proper, so what you need to know, how a cell multiplies, how a parent cell is dividing into 2 daughter cells. So you all know mitosis and meiosis, but this part I don't know whether you know or no. So the multiplication or the proliferation of cell, it is controlled by some signaling factors. For example, if you're taking, this is a cell, this is the nucleus of the cell. Now, how do you think this cell is going to divide into 2 daughter cells? So there's something called as growth factor. So that growth factor, it will bind to the growth factor receptors which are present on the cell surface. So receptors, they are protein in nature. So when the binding occurs, there is activation of this receptor. So once it gets activated, it will activate number of proteins which are there in the cytoplasm which can transmit the growth signals from the cell surface to the nucleus. So these cytoplasmic proteins are called as signal transducing proteins. Okay, so these proteins, they then activate DNA binding protein, the transcription factors, the transcription proteins. So what do you mean by transcription? Yes. What do you mean by transcription? A sequence of DNA is copied into RNA. So that is the transcription. And it also activates cell cycle proteins so that the cell can enter the cell cycle and multiply into two daughter cells. So you have quite a few growth factors. So you have to know the full form. Okay, so I'll be introducing many terms in this class. Okay, so it's better you open your textbook and you can just highlight whatever I'm teaching today. So growth factors are platelet derived growth factor. T stands for transforming, H is hepatocyte, and F is fibroblast. GF is growth factor. Next, you have growth factor receptors. There are quite a few receptors, but at your stage, you can just remember this: tyrosine kinase receptors. Now, number of proteins in the cytoplasm which transmit the signals are the RAS protein, GTP binding proteins, ABL, BRAF, and JAK2. So abbreviation is enough, full form is not required. So at least you have to know these names. And DNA binding protein which activates the transcription factors within the nucleus is the MYC gene or the MYC protein. So full form is not required. Next, cell cycle proteins, cyclin D1 and CDK4. So this I'll be dealing in our third session. Okay. So what happens in the neoplasia is that there is complete loss of control and regulation of proliferation of cells. Okay, the cells, they go on proliferating. They are always in the cell cycle even when the growth factor is not attached to the receptor. Okay, so only when the growth, normally in normal cells, only when the growth factor attaches to the receptor, then only the cell multiplies. But in neoplasia, there is loss of that control and regulation. So even in the absence of the growth factor, the cell continues to multiply and it continues to be in the cell cycle, leading to an abnormal mass of tissue, which is called as neoplasia. So that is neoplasia. It's a new growth. So it's a mass of tissue which is formed as a result of abnormal. So abnormal cells, can you see so many cells are there and they're all abnormal and they're excessive. Where one cell has to be there in that place, there are so many thousands of cells are there in that place. And it's an uncoordinated growth. There is no proper coordination between the cells and it is autonomous. That means to say, even in the absence of growth factor, the receptor continues to be in that activated state and the cell is always in the cell cycle, and this huge mass of cell, it does not serve any purpose. It does not perform the specific function for that organ. So it's purposeless. And proliferation or multiplication of cells, in the beginning stage, the growth factor binds, but in later stages, even in the absence of growth factor, it continues to multiply. So after cessation of the stimulus in the initial stage was a growth factor. So even if it is removed, it still continues to multiply. So this is, I've just kept my own mnemonic, AAEPU. That is, you have to remember all these adjectives, okay, when you write the definition of neoplasia: abnormal, autonomous, excessive, purposeless, uncoordinated. All these are adjectives. Okay. Now how I told you the cell multiplies, but it is only a single cell giving rise to number of abnormal cells. So there will be a genetic alteration in a single cell. So what are the genes which get genetically alterated? You know, genes are the ones which are responsible for synthesis and regulation of proteins. So whatever I mentioned in the previous slide, growth factor receptors, all these are the proteins which are controlled by the genes. So there is, I told, genetic alteration in this cell. So what are the genes which are altered? Genes which regulate the growth factor receptors, signal transduction, transcription, or the DNA protein genes, as well as there's something called as DNA repair genes. So whenever a DNA is damaged in the cell, even it occurs normally. So what happens? There DNA repair genes are there, which repairs the damaged DNA. Now, if that is also altered, or if that is also, if it is abnormal, or if it is absent, so what happens? The cell continues to multiply with that damaged DNA. And if that cell with the damaged DNA completes one full cell cycle and gives rise to two daughter cells. Now, in the daughter cells, the damaged DNA cannot be repaired at all. It becomes irreversible and it starts to accumulate additional mutations. That means to say there will be mutations in the growth factor and all these proteins. More mutations starts to get accumulate, and the two will give rise to four. Ultimately, it's only a single cell giving rise to this huge mass of tissue. So that's why it is called as tumor. It is called, said to be monoclonal. There is monoclonal, single clone expansion of the cell. Okay, only one cell, one specific cell is multiplying into many cells. Monoclonal. Okay. So tumor, it has two components. So one is the parenchymal component. So you're seeing here all, okay, the cells. So this is the parenchymal component, that is the actual tumor cell, the actual tumor proper, which is proliferating. So that is the parenchymal component, and this is the one which determines the pathological consequences, like the pathogenesis, the clinical features it leads to, okay, and the complications it leads to. And this is the one which serves as a basis for the nomenclature, that is naming of the tumors, how we are going to name the tumors, which I'll be telling in the next slides. Now, this parenchymal component, it requires something, it requires a foundation so that it can grow in that foundation. So that foundation is provided by the stroma, which supports the parenchymal component. And what that stroma consists of? It consists of fibrous connective tissue and lot of blood vessels as well as lymphatic drainage. So you see now, tumor cells, they also require nutrition. Okay, then the nutrition and as well as oxygen, from where it will get from the blood supply. Okay, so there will be lot of angiogenesis occurring around the tumor cells. So you know what is angiogenesis by this time. Okay, you must have, it's been already dealt in inflammation chapter. Angiogenesis is the formation of new capillaries. So when we talk about blood vessels, we are always talking at the capillary level. So there is a lot of proliferation or regeneration of lot of capillaries around the tumors, so that it can give adequate supply of nutrition and oxygen for the tumor cells to multiply, as well as you have adequate lymphatic drainage. So what these lymph vessels do, they drain, okay, they drain any site. So they drain even the tumor cells. So while draining the tumor cells, they carry the tumor cells to a distant site. Okay, so what is that called as? It's called as metastasis. The tumor is spreading to a distant site. So that term is called as metastasis, which I'll be telling in detail in tomorrow's chapter. Okay, so these are the two components. Now, this is a general classification how we are going to classify divide the tumor. It's a general. Okay, so they are classified under epithelial, mesenchymal, lymphoid and hematopoietic, germ cell, and secondary tumors are the metastatic tumors. So lymphoid means, what do you think of lymphoid? Not only the lymph nodes, the spleen, the thymus, The lymphoid follicles present in different organs like ileum, okay, and germ cells are the germ cells of the testes and ovaries. So this is a general outline classification, not a detailed classification. Now, how we are going to name the tumors? So that is called as nomenclature. So there are basically two types of tumors. One is benign tumors, other is malignant tumors. So in some places U is there, in some places U is not there. Okay, so both spellings are accepted. So naming for benign tumors in the suffix in the end we put as oma. For malignant tumors which are of epithelial origin, we keep a term as carcinoma at the ending. For mesenchymal origin, it is sarcoma. So you're getting, there are three different terms. Okay, oma is benign, carcinoma epithelial, mesenchymal, sarcoma. Okay, so lot of new terminologies will be coming now in the next slides. So what do you mean by this epithelial and mesenchymal? So epithelial origin are glandular epithelium, squamous epithelium, and transitional epithelium. So that's why histology is taught in the first MBBS and pathology in the second phase. So this is a revision of your histology in the anatomy section. So where all you have the glandular epithelium. So in the lungs, the bronchi and the bronchioles, yes, they are lined by some ciliated epithelium, yes or no? And in the breast tissue, we have the ductal lobular unit, okay, which is connected to the SNI. So all this is lined by the epithelial cells. Next you have the GI tract minus esophagus, okay, right from the stomach to the rectum minus anus. Next, forgetting about the rectosigmoid junction, okay, where you have both the epitheliums, okay, squamous epithelium, yes or no, and the intestinal epithelium, and pancreas. So the endocrine and exocrine part of the pancreas, the hepatocytes, they are also of epithelial origin. Kidney is the proximal tubules, convoluted tubules, the distal convoluted tubules, the collecting ducts, the prostate glands, endometrial glands, endocervical glands, ovaries, fallopian tubes. So all these are lined by glandular epithelium, okay, and they are all epithelial origin. Likewise, you have squamous epithelium, lining of the skin, oropharynx, larynx, two extremes of the GI tract, esophagus, anus, ectocervix, vagina, vulva, purpose, and transitional epithelium is renal pelvis, okay, ureter, bladder, proximal urethra. So proximal urethra is lined by transitional epithelium. What about the distal urethra? What type of epithelium you think? Is it glandular, squamous? Anyway, it's not transitional, it didn't keep. What it can be? The distal part. Yes? So columnar epithelium.
Pseudostratified columnar epithelium, ma'am.
Yes, stratified columnar epithelium. So that will come under glandular epithelium. Okay, so all these are the epithelial origin. So if the tumors are arising from these specific epithelium, for benign it is oma, okay, for malignant it is carcinoma. So this I just want to give you the examples of glandular epithelium. So the ileum, the squamous epithelium, you can see the keratinized squamous epithelium of the skin, and here you can see the transitional epithelium of the bladder. Now microscopically also there is a difference in the naming of the tumor based on the architecture of the tumor, how it is arranged. Now if it is, that is at the microscopic level. Now if the tumor has a glandular pattern, can you see all these are the glands? I think you must have seen some normal histology, some normal glands you can see. So same, So same glandular pattern. If the tumor it's having, it is called as adeno. And since it is a benign, oma is added at the ending, at the suffix. So adeno o, oma o. So the two o's we don't put, we put only single o. So it is called as adenoma. So adenoma, if we tell you adenoma, so you should think yes, oma means benign. Adenoma means yes, the tumor has a glandular pattern. So likewise, if the tumor, if the glands are dilated, you can see the glands are very huge. And here, if you can see, the glands are lined by columnar epithelium or sometimes cuboidal epithelium. But here, the glands, they are lined by flattened epithelial cells, and they have huge cavities at the center. Sometimes they are empty or sometimes they are filled with secretions. So the term given for this is cyst. Okay, so if the tumor is arranged in this way, it is called as cyst adenoma. Okay. Next, if the tumor has a papillary pattern, just like a finger, so can you see it's looking like a finger-like projections of the stratified squamous epithelium. It is projecting out in the form of a finger shape. So the term given for that is the papillary pattern, papilloma. Okay, so these are the another three different terminologies. So based on the microscopic arrangement of the tumor. So another three new terminologies. So please stick in your highlight in your textbooks. Now, based on the macroscopic pattern, how we can look, okay, naked eye without using microscope. So you can see this is a vocal cords, okay, and something is projecting. There is a visible projection, outward projection is seen from the, not only from the mucosal surface, but here you can also see from the skin surface. So this is called as polyp. We call it as polypoidal projection. Now this polyp, it can be with stalk. If it is with stalk, you can see this is all the abnormal cells, and this is the stalk which is lined by normal cells. So if the stalk is present, it is called as pedunculated. If it is not present, it is called as sessile. So pedunculated polyp and sessile polyp. So this is on the macroscopic pattern. If we can see with our naked eye, we need not have the microscope to see it. So that is macroscopic or gross. That is another synonym we use, but this is the specific synonym. Okay, macroscopic. Now you tell me from this picture, which is pedunculated polyp and which is sessile polyp. What is this polyp? Is it pedunculated or sessile? Very good.
Pedunculated, ma'am.
Yes. So this is actually the polyp and this is the stalk. And here you cannot see the stalk. So this is a sessile polyp. So this is the endoscopic biopsy. Now coming to the malignant. You can see all these are glandular epithelium. So adenocarcinoma, because it's of epithelial origin, it's of glandular pattern. Now, from the squamous epithelium, it is called as squamous cell carcinoma. Okay, from the transitional epithelium, it is called as transitional cell carcinoma, or better term is urothelial carcinoma. So now you understood. So adeno, you have to think, yes, it's a glandular. Carcinoma, you have to think, yes, it is malignant, yes, it is epithelial origin. Okay, so this is the naming system. Now, there are some specific microscopic patterns in case of malignant epithelial tumors. So this, as usual, the glandular pattern. So now you know what is a glandular pattern, adenocarcinoma. Now is something called Esner pattern. Now, can you see the difference between two patterns? So here you have perfectly round central cavity, which is very small. So it may be present, it may not be present. And you can see the cells, they are concentrically arranged in a form of a ring. You can see rings of cells very concentrically arranged, either without cavity or with a very small cavity. So this is called as Esner pattern. And as usual, Papillary pattern, I told you, finger-like projection. So it is in the form of a finger. So this is the epithelium, and the center is composed of fibrous tissue as well as capillary. So you can see all red. So it's a vascular stroma which is present at the center, at the core. Not only vascular, even fibrous tissue also will be present. So this, you know, papillary pattern, finger-like, glandular pattern, glands, and this is the Esner pattern. Nice concentric circle of rings in the form of a ring. The other patterns you will come across in your systemic chapters. So that's why I'm telling you now only. So otherwise you will get confused over what this pattern is. So now, cord-like pattern. Can you see how the tumor cells are arranged? They are arranged in linear rows, double rows of tumor cell, double or triple rows of tumor cell in a linear fashion. All these blue dots you're seeing, so those are all our tumor cells. Okay, and these rows are separated by thin fibrous tissue. So this is a cord, just like a cord. Now you have the cord, now your charging cord on a linear string. So here double rows are there, double or sometimes triple rows. So that is called as cord-like pattern. Now if there is no pattern at all, they are arranged in one big sheets, full of sheets with no any pattern. So it's simply called as sheet-like arrangement. Next, nest pattern. So you can see these are the tumor cells, cluster of tumor cells or group of tumor cells or islands of tumor cells, all means the same. This is the nested pattern or island of tumor cells or cluster of tumor cells. Okay, all those are synonyms. So nested pattern. Next you have lastly the trabecular pattern. So can you see the difference? So all these are the tumor cells. So here they're somewhat round and oval and irregular shape. Here you can see they are linear in shape. So linear clusters of tumor cells. And I have drawn one line here. So what does it mean? That all these cells, they are arranged perpendicular to the long axis of the cluster. You can see this whole thing is a cluster, one linear cluster. And which is the longest axis? This axis is the longest. Yes or no? And this is the short axis. So these cells, they are arranged, you can see one cell here. It's arranged perpendicular to the longest axis of the cluster. So, and these clusters, linear clusters of tumor cells, are separated by minimal fibrous tissue. So this is the trabecular pattern. So all these patterns, why I'm telling, because you'll get in your systemic chapters under the tumor section. For each system, there is a tumor section which you have to know. So there you will be coming across all these patterns. Okay, so you have to know. Don't that time you don't become confused. Oh, what is this pattern? Okay. Now I finished about epithelial origin. Now what is the mesenchymal origin? The tissues which are derived from mesenchymal tissue. So they are also called as non-epithelial tumors or connective tissue tumors. So again, a revision of your histology. So adipose tissue, so you know it's composed of all fat cells. Fibrous tissue, the bone, what's the bone cells called as? Osteocytes.
Osteocytes.
Okay. So likewise, yes, likewise cartilage, what it is called as? The cells, cartilage, broad term.
Chondrocytes.
Yes, chondrocytes, good. Next you have embryonic fibrous tissue, that is fibrous tissue in the fetal period. Mesothelium, mesothelial cells, you think where they line? They line what? Lining of what? Mesothelium. Serous cavities. Okay, the pleural cavity, the pericardial cavity, the peritoneal cavity, they are actually lined by simple squamous cells, but it is of mesodermal origin, not epithelial origin. Okay, so don't get confused. So ma'am told mesothelium, mesenchymal origin, but in the book somewhere if you get, it's written as simple squamous. Yeah, it is lined by simple squamous, but it is of mesodermal origin. Okay, mesodermal or mesenchymal, one and the same. Next, meninges, the covering of the brain matter. Next, you have the nerve sheet, the nerve cells, the synovium lining the joint spaces, the skeletal muscles, smooth muscle, blood vessels, both arteries and veins, and lymphatics. So here, benign, in the end, we put it as OMA, but malignant, it is different. You're seeing. Okay, for epithelial and mesenchymal, benign is same. OMA only we put it as, thank God. And malignant only it is different. So that is carcinoma and this is sarcoma. Okay. Now these tumors also, mesenchymal tumors, they have little bit of specific arrangement, specific terms have been given. So if you can see here in the 0, all these are the tumor cells. You can see somewhat they are elongated. Yeah, the nucleus, what you can see is only the nucleus we'll be seeing here. Okay, the cell borders and all, it won't be differentiated, well distinct in tumor cells. Okay, you can see this long linear, all this is nucleus. So if you can see bundles, this is a bundles of cells, we call it as bundle, parallel row of cells which are intersecting here. You can see one group of bundle is coming here, other group of bundle is coming here, and they are intersecting at this point. So this type of arrangement is called as interlacing fascicles. So fascicles means bundles. Another synonym in pathology for bundles is fascicles. Okay, don't tell bundles, tell it as fascicles. So one new term you got here. Next, whorls. What is this whorl arrangement? Can you see concentric shape of tumor cells? They are arranged in some concentric layer, like onion peel. Can you see concentric? Okay, so that is called as whorl arrangement of tumor cells in a concentric pattern, many layers in a concentric pattern. So that is whorl arrangement here also, and big whorl you're seeing. All these are the whorls, irregular whorls are there here. So that is whorl arrangement. Next, herringbone pattern. Can you see here short parallel rows of cells intersecting in a zigzag fashion? You can see the pleats of the hair. They are intersecting at zigzag fashion. So if you can see here, so you just try to match these two pictures with this picture. You can see this. One row of cells coming here, other row of cells are coming here, and they are intersecting at this point, zigzag fashion. So this is called as herringbone pattern. Okay, next, storiform pattern, just like a cartwheel. You have a central group of cells. Can you see here? This is the central group of cells, and this is the peripheral group of cells. I know it will be very difficult at this stage. For me also, it was very difficult only in the beginning stage. So this is called as cartwheel pattern or storiform pattern. Okay, so pathology is only matching. So since women, we are good in matching, right? All clothes, jackets with the saris and dupattas with the chudar. So it's a matching center. We have to match with something or the other and give a name for that. So that's why many female doctors are there in pathology than male doctors. We are good in matching. So these are the patterns. So the other, I told you in the beginning, so you have epithelial tumors, then you have the mesenchymal tumors. So the other is the lymphoid system, that is from the lymph nodes, from the spleen, then you have from the thymus. So the tumors which arise from the lymphoid population of these organs, a name is given to that. It's called as lymphoma, but it is not a benign tumor. So all these are against the rule of the nomenclature. So everyone don't follow from A to Z. No one follows the rule. So how many of them joined before 10? Only few of them joined. Okay. So we all don't follow the rule of joining before 10. So here also in the naming system, they also don't follow the rules and regulation. So lymphoma, that means to say it's a malignant tumor. Even though oma is given as a suffix, it is the malignant tumor arising from the lymphoid population in the organs wherever it is present, those lymphoid follicles. Okay, so this is a malignant tumor. Next, hematopoietic cells in the bone marrow. So what are the hematopoietic cells? The parent cells, the pronormoblast, okay, megakaryocyte, the myeloblast, the lymphoblast, the monoblast. So all those are the hematopoietic cells in the bone marrow. So if there is a malignant transformation of those cells, and these cells, they leak into the circulation. So it's called as leukemias. So leukemias is blood cancer. I think you all must be knowing this term of leukemia. I think Rishi Kapoor died of leukemia. You all know that. So yeah, I think he died of chronic lymphocytic leukemia. He died of. So that's a malignant tumor. Next, germ cell tumors of the testis. A specific name is given, seminoma. Okay, so just because oma is there, it doesn't mean it is a benign tumor. So they are going against the naming system. So it's a malignant tumor. Likewise, ovaries, it is dysgerminoma. Next, non-neural neural support tissues of the brains. So a broad term is given for those tumors. They are the gliomas. So if the tumor is arising from astrocytes, astrocytoma. Oligodendroglial cells, oligodendrogliomas. Ependymal cells, ependymomas. So here OMA is mentioned, but in brain tumors, at this stage, I'm telling, at this stage, that knowledge is sufficient. How we know whether it is a benign or malignant? They are graded. You have astrocytoma grade 1, next you have grade 2, grade 3, and grade 4. So grade 1 is a benign tumor, less aggressive tumor, non-invasive tumor, whereas grade 4 is a malignant tumor, highly aggressive, can lead to metastasis, can cause invasion. So they are graded. Okay, so there is no it's not called as benign astrocytoma or malignant astrocytoma. A grade will be given in Roman letters, Roman number 1, Roman number 2. Okay, only 4 grades are there. So that is applicable only for the brain. So at this stage, that is sufficient for you. But all these which I have mentioned, lymphoma, leukemia, seminoma, and dysgerminoma, even though OMA is there, and here OMA is also not there, all these are the malignant tumors. Okay, and these are the origins. Now, coming to the, so that's what about the definition and the naming system of the tumor, the nomenclature. Now coming to the last one, last category, classification of tumors. So they are broadly, again you will have a lot of new terms here. So you have a big table, tables are there, both in Robin as well as in Harshamon. So you have to memorize those tables. Okay, tumors of one parenchymal cell type, which are either from epithelial or mesenchymal. So now you know what is epithelial and what is mesenchymal. Tumors of both the parenchymal cell types, mixed tumors. So in an organ, usually normally a organ will, like a tumor, it will have a parenchymal component and a stromal component. Parenchymal component is actually the functional component. For example, if you take thyroid tissue, the thyroid follicles are the parenchymal component. And in between, if you have some little amount of connective tissue and the interstitial tissue where you have the blood capillaries and the lymphatics, that is the mesenchymal component. Okay, they also have a functional component and the supporting stromal component. Now, if in an organ, if a tumor is arising from both these components, both the parenchymal components, so those tumors we put under the second category and we call it as mixed tumors. Now, tumors derived from all 3 germ cell layers. So what are those germ cell layers? You have ectoderm, mesoderm, and endoderm. From all those 3 layers, the tumor is arising in a single organ. So that we keep it as a third category. Now, what is that? We'll see now. So this is of epithelial origin. So this big table is there in your textbook. So now you will understand the naming system as well as the classification now. So squamous origin, benign tumor, squamous cell papilloma. So it has a papillary. architecture, finger-like projection. But the malignant tumor is not having. So squamous cell carcinoma. Okay, now you got the naming, you got the idea now. Transitional cell papilloma or transitional cell carcinoma. Another synonym is urothelial cell papilloma and urothelial cell carcinoma. So two synonyms you have to know. So glandular adenoma, adeno is glandular pattern, oma benign, adenocarcinoma. Next, basal cell layer of the skin, there is no benign counterpart. Okay, only malignant counterpart is there, which is very simple, thank God, basal cell carcinoma. Now, neuroectoderm, Nevus cells. You have Nevus cells in the skin. So what are those Nevus cells? They are the precursors of melanocytes. Okay, they are a variant of melanocyte. Okay, so if a benign tumor is arising from those cells, it is the Nevus cells. It goes by the same name. And malignant tumor, it is called as melanoma. So why I've kept in a different color? Because this is also going against the nomenclature. So since I've told melanoma, it doesn't mean that it's a benign tumor. It's a malignant tumor of the melanocytes, which is of epithelial origin. So this is also against the rule. Next, hepatocytes, liver cell adenoma or liver cell carcinoma. So better terminology is hepatocellular carcinoma and hepatocellular adenoma. So I gave you two synonyms, okay, because this was a synonym which was used previously, but now the appropriate and the correct synonym is hepatocellular carcinoma. And here also you can mention hepatocellular adenoma, because liver cell adenoma is mentioned in some of the textbook, I think in Harshimon, I don't know. So in case if I put here hepatocellular adenoma, then again you will be having a doubt. So ma'am told hepatocellular adenoma, liver cell adenoma, but here there is hepatocellular adenoma. So this is a previous term which was used, but this is the latest term which is now used. Okay. Next, placenta. You all know placenta is lined by chorionic epithelium. So benign tumor. So this is also going against the nomenclature. A totally different term is given, and that too there are two different terms. So hydatidiform mole and vesicular mole. So we have to learn, no other choice. So this is easy. Malignancy, choreo. This you have to. Mesenchymal is composed of all lipocytes. So benign tumor, lipoma. So you need not put two O's. Okay, you can put only one O. And malignant is liposarcoma. So I told you mesenchymal origin, we put a suffix as sarcoma. So similarly, easy. Adult fibrous tissue, fibroma, fibrosarcoma. So you all told osteocytes, right, for the bone. So osteoma, osteosarcoma. Likewise, cartilage, chondroma, that is from chondrocytes, chondrosarcoma. Blood vessels, again you have seen I've given two different terms here. Hemangioma, angiosarcoma. So here you can use angioma, angiosarcoma, hemangioma or hemangiosarcoma. So two different synonyms are there for the blood vessels. So that's why I mentioned two different prefix here, but it means the same. You can use both. So better terminology nowadays is angio only if it is a malignancy. Okay, if it is a benign, better terminology is hemangi only. Okay, so usually we don't tell hemangiosarcoma, we can tell, but angiosarcoma is a better for malignancy. Okay, for benign, hemangioma is only used. Okay. Next, skeletal muscle. So this is only little bit different. Along with blood vessel, you won't have any clue what it is, but you have to mug up this terms. Okay, rhabdomyoma, rhabdomyosarcoma. Likewise, smooth muscle is leiomyoma, leiomyosarcoma. So all these 1, 2, 3 are little bit different terms you have to know, whereas for the rest of them you have clues. Okay. So lymph vessels is lymphangioma, lymphangiosarcoma. Okay, mesothelial cells, there is no benign counterpart, thank God. There's only malignant counterpart, and that's also going against the rules of nomenclature. So mesothelioma. So it doesn't oma, just because oma is there, please don't think it is a malignant, it's a benign, it's a malignant tumor. Okay, so this is a very important table. You have to know at least about the mesenchymal origin. If you at least can reproduce this table, that is sufficient. You have still extra ones. If you can remember, you remember, otherwise don't worry. But the first table you have to remember. Okay. Meninges, meningioma or invasive meningioma. So I told you all the brain tumors of the brain tissue, there's a grade given, Roman number 1, 2, 3, 4. Even meningioma is also same. A Roman grading is given, grade 1, 2, 3, 4. 1 means benign, grade 4 means malignant. So likewise, next is nerve sheet, neurilemoma or schwannoma. That is, I think, a better term. You can put schwannoma. That means to say from Schwann cells. You know Schwann cells. Next, from the peripheral nerves, neurofibroma. So benign. So if the tumor is arising, malignant tumor is arising from both the cell types, it's called as neurogenic sarcoma. Next, nerve cells, ganglioneuroma. Here another, it's again going against the nomenclature, neuroblastoma. Okay, just because soma is there for neuroblastoma, it doesn't mean it is benign. It is a malignant tumor. Next, similarly, synovial sarcoma, embryonic fibrous tissue. That is immature fibrous tissue in the fetal period. So myxoma and myxosarcoma. Okay. So you just try to see how many different terms you can memorize. So you have you will definitely memorize. But I think in your 10th class and 12th class, you have periodic table, right? You have so many 109 elements for which you have to know the atomic masses, what are inert, what are metallic and non-metallic. I think everyone must be having that big periodic chart in your near your study tables. So likewise, this also, it's better you make a chart and keep near your study table so that you know. Okay, it's better than mugging up. Next, that is about the first one. The next one is very easy, only one is there. Tumors of both parenchymal cell type. So thank God we have only one. So it consists of both epithelial and mesenchymal components are both involved in one organ. So in salivary gland, a specific name is given, pleomorphic adenoma, and malignant is called as malignant mixed salivary gland tumor. So when we go to this chapter particularly, you will know in detail about pleomorphic adenoma. At this stage, this is sufficient. That's just the naming. So only one is there, thank God. Next, tumors derived from all three germ cell layers. So this also only one is there. So totipotent cells, you know what are totipotent cells, which give rise to all layers, ectoderm, mesoderm, endoderm. So benign, it's called as mature teratoma. Here also again against the nomenclature, malignant is called as immature teratoma. Oma. But it is immature, it is mature. So here, just a common sense. When I'm telling immature, so what do you think in which age group it will be common? It's a common sense. When I'm telling immature teratoma, so what do you think?
Infants and children.
Yes, infants less than 5 years of age, or sometimes the babies are born with this tumor. So it's in the embryonic period itself. So mature teratoma means it's common in adolescents and young adults. So these are the very common sites of where the teratomas occur. Ovaries, testes, mediastinum, retroperitoneum, head and neck, sacrococcygeal region. So here I've kept one picture just to show you in one particular organ only, you will be having 3 different types of tissue. So if you can recognize this, normal histology only. So this is the stratified keratinizing epithelium. Stratified epithelium, all these are the keratin flakes. So squamous epithelium you're seeing. Some glandular pattern you're seeing. So you have the endodermal element. So here you're seeing something like a cartilage, hyaline cartilage, the mesenchymal tissue. So you have ectoderm, endoderm, mesoderm, all in one organ. So that's the term is teratoma. In detail, you will know about this when you learn in ovary chapter, tumor section. Okay, so these are the three broad classifications of the tumor. If you can remember that, that's more than sufficient. This is only for your understanding, because these are mentioned in your textbooks. If you want to remember, you remember. Otherwise, don't worry. When you become pathology PGs, that time you have to remember in PG stage. Next, adenosquamous carcinoma. So it's a combination of both adenocarcinoma and squamous cell carcinoma in a single organ. Adenoacanthoma, mixture of adenocarcinoma and benign squamous cell elements. So squamous cell papilloma or something. So collision tumors. So what are these collision tumors? You have morphologically two different tumors, epithelial and mesenchymal tumors in a single same organ, but they are not mixing with each other. So that is collision tumor. I don't know why they kept as collision. Collision means they have to collide with each other, but they kept it as collision tumor. Next, carcinosarcoma. So malignant tumor of the epithelial origin, malignant tumor of the mesenchymal origin. So the term given is as carcinosarcoma. Please don't confuse with the above term. The above is the benign one. Okay, so this is the malignant one. So even this is also called as collision tumor. Okay, you just if you want to learn, you learn. Otherwise, you just have an idea what are these terms. But the previous three I've mentioned, no, the tumors which come under all these three categories, so that you have to remember. Next, the other nomenclature which are going against the rule, not following the rule, and these are the ones which are highly malignant tumor, and they arise and they start multiplying in the embryonic stage itself, and babies are born with these tumors. So those are neuroblastoma from the peripheral nerves, nephroblastoma from the immature tubules, hepatoblastoma from the immature hepatocytes, retinoblastoma, I think you all know, quite familiar with this term, from the immature retina, pulmonary blastoma from immature pulmonary parenchyma. Even though OMA is there, okay, since it's going against the naming system nomenclature, they are not benign. They are highly aggressive tumors in the embryonic stage. So next two slides, you have some two terms which they keep on repeating in different chapters. So one is hematomas. What are these hematomas? They are non-neoplastic tissue. First, you think put that in your brain. But even though there is a overgrowth of the cells and tissues, they are non-neoplastic. They are not neoplastic, and they are arranged in very disorganized fashion, but they belong to that particular organ. So this is a normal histology which I focused here. I think you already got a clue. What is this? It's a duodenum. Okay, so this is the mucosa. In the submucosa, you have Brunner's glands here. So you compare this picture to this picture. What's happening? There is increased number of Brunner's glands. Okay, lot of Brunner's glands. There's overgrowth of the Brunner's gland here, and it is very disorganized way. You can see this nice organized fashion, and here it is disorganized fashion, and there is a overgrowth. So that doesn't mean that it's a it's a neoplastic. It's a non-neoplastic only. It's a normal tissue, but it is growing more. And indigenous is belonging to that organ only. So for that term, hematoma is given. So what do you call this condition as? Brunner's gland hematoma of the duodenum. So the definition, you can keep it as non-neoplastic. Likewise, this last term, last slide, choristoma or heterotropia. So it's just the opposite of the previous one. Here the normal tissue is present, there is no overgrowth, but it is present in a different location. It's a non-neoplastic. It's called as ectopic rest of the normal tissue. For example, if you're seeing this is jejunum, okay, villi of the jejunum. In the submucosa, you're seeing at the arrow, I'm pointing out to the islet cells of the pancreas. It's a normal islet cells only. Okay, normal growth of the islet cells, but it should not be present in the jejunum, but it is present in the jejunum, foreign location. For that, the term is given as choristoma and heterotropia. So usually this hematoma or choristropia they don't present with any signs and symptoms. So it's always an incidental finding, accidental finding it is. So patient must have some other disease, but suddenly we found out something else is there. Okay. So these two terms, okay, choristoma, hematoma, just remember. So that's the conclusion for today's class. So definition and nomenclature and classification only got over. So tomorrow we'll touch the other 3 competencies mentioned in competency 1 only. Okay. So today I think just listen to me, everyone.